Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Talking Craps. Now, tonight I've got a very special guest with me. The very first person I actually met in a casino meetup. We have Jacob Bittner. We have from Wager Me This is joining us here tonight. Hello, Jacob. Welcome to the show.
How are you?
Good, man. What was that?
Your intro is awesome.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Yeah, we've got a couple of guys giving us some comments already. Hearing some crackling in the background. Did that crackling go away, guys?
I don't think it's my side unless it's my
I don't hear it on my side either. So I don't know if that was I don't know, something going on out there or not. So if you guys, if the volume's up too high or whatever, let me know, and I'll try to make some adjustments on my side. So, guys, we've got Jacob here again from Wager Me This. And like I said, I've known Jacob for quite a while. I think almost 2 years now is going on. We met at the Kansas Star Casino one afternoon and got to play a little bit together. And that prompted one of my best videos, the strategy that killed me, or something like that. And we're going to get into strategy here in a little while. It's just but that's the one that just got me. Laying that 10 just does not work for me. I got to find a different number. Strategy sound, the number's not.
Yeah, it's not for everybody.
No. But yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit about toolbox strategies. We're going to talk a little bit about sports betting. We're going to talk about casinos in the South, some of the casinos that you get to frequent. And then, we're just kind of shoot the breeze. We've got a Q&A session going. We've got people out there in the audience watching. We'll bring in some questions and talk to them. So to get us started, though, I was hoping you might just tell us a little bit about how you got involved in the game of craps.
Well, actually, the first time I got involved with craps was with my grandfather. It's actually on my website and my story. I tell a little story about how he kind of got me into dice and them being a gambling thing and stuff, and on a game of Monopoly. And that's kind of how that started. And from there, I actually got away from it for a long time. When I got in all my trouble and went to prison for a long time and stuff. After that, when I got out, in there I played some craps, but it's street craps, and it's not really the same thing at all. And so then when I got out, I got into poker, and I was just into poker, really heavy into poker. But then I found out that poker takes all of your life if you want to be good at it. And so I didn't have that. I had kids and stuff. So I get back into craps. And so I start getting into craps and looking at stuff past what my grandfather taught me, So I'm like, okay, this works, but is it the best? And it turns out it's not the best. And but it's the way he did it, and it's the way he made money at it, stuff. So it's still good. His ideas were still good. And they're part of the basis of how I built what I do. And now, just in the big scheme of things, I'm far more successful at craps than he ever was.
So, and how long ago was that you were playing with him, or he was teaching you?
Oh, it would have been 30 years ago.
Wow. So you were what, 2? I was about to say, you're pretty young,
I'm
man.
almost 40. But so, I was a kid,
So I guess Justice is about the same age as you are as you were when you first started to play.
Yeah. Oh, I was probably a little older than that. So I was probably 10.
Yeah. But
yeah, I mean.
So tell me a little bit more about poker. You did you actually play, or you were just trying to learn it?
No, I actually played it. I've never won any big tournaments, but the little local tournaments at Tunica and stuff, I've won money at them. I was actually successful. It just takes so much time that to win $100 playing poker at the $200 table, at the 1-2 table, takes all day sometimes. When $100 playing craps takes 10 minutes. So there's a huge time.
Yeah, my little brother is a poker player, right? And together I think we could make a pretty good team. But I can't play poker. I don't have the face for it. You guys talk about tells all the time. Well, you can tell what I'm holding. That's for sure. So
I was good at poker.
So all right. So you played a little bit of poker. You started to learn a little bit about dice and deciding what you were going to do. What were those first strategies that your grandfather taught you?
Well, what he does is lay both the 4 and 10 and plays the hard 4 and 10 with them, and that's all he does. So he's
Wow.
just playing for the 7 the whole time, and he has a little bit of progression to it, but it works on most tables. Of course, most of the time you're at least going to break even on the deal. So, uh, but unless you just have a lot of 7s being rolled, you could sit there a long time, not necessarily losing, but not winning either. And so it's not always that great, but it works. What he does works. I've actually made videos on it.
Yeah.
But most of the videos I made was when I was blue collar. Uh, I don't know that I've made any of them since I've been Wager Me This. Maybe I have.
Yeah. I don't remember seeing any. But that was the basis of the strategy that I put out there. The one that killed me, or the one that has hurt me the most. And I didn't play it like you were teaching me. I forgot to play the hard ways along with it, to kind of hedge just a little bit. And
Yeah.
also, you have to be funded. You have to be able to sustain some hits, and like you said, maybe with a little bit of progression thrown in there to make your way back. That so I played this off as my worst strategy, but I didn't play it right, and so that's on me. That I didn't do that. So he's got to lay in the 4 and the 10. You get a little bit of progression with it, and you're learning. Okay, well maybe that's good. Maybe there's a little bit better way. So I guess that was maybe the basis for your toolbox.
Yeah, it was. Well, also, what happened is I was at the casinos a lot more, and I saw good players and what they were doing, and it wasn't what I was doing. And so I was like, okay, I'm winning, but I'm not winning like they are. And so I got to watching and got to watching, and I realized, okay, there's a couple things on the craps table that are very valuable, and you need to learn how to use them. Right. So one of the things that I never really used was the dome. I was like, why did they use that? You know? And so I saw guys playing it and then winning big stacks of chips when I lost. And I was like, And then I saw people playing pressing strategies. They just kept pressing their numbers up. And I was like, okay, what's going on there? And so don't get me wrong, I had an idea of what this stuff was, but I didn't fully understand it. And so, for example, I don't know if it was the time I was with you at Kansas Star or the time before that. One of those times, I had the longest roll I've ever had, and I rolled at one of those tables there for like an hour and a half, and only made like $170. Right?
Yeah, I remember that. It was when I was there with you, but it was about 5 minutes after I left.
Yeah, if you roll for that long, you should win you should accidentally win $170. That should just be an accident, And I didn't, because I didn't know what I was doing. I really didn't. Even though I eventually had money on everything, when you have minimum on everything, it's going to win minimum, And so that's kind of what happened there.
Yeah, so kind of back to my beginnings with same bet. I was trying to come up with some sort of name, and at that point, I didn't know any better, and so I chose the same bet name. And since then, I've learned, that is not a good strategy. You can't win any money playing same bet. You can spend some time at the tables, but that's about the best that you can hope for.
Shut that door, Justice. Get the dog out. Sorry, I'm talking to Justice.
That's all right. So I'm just going to jump back to that. So I'd like for you to take me back to your blue collar craps days, because that's when I first started getting interested in you. And you were talking about at that time, you had a lot of, I don't know, strategies for low bankrolls and things like that. So what happened to blue collar craps? Is that something you could talk about?
Oh yeah, I can talk about it. So what happened is blue collar craps. I started with a bunch of low bankroll strategies and anti-house edge, because I don't believe house edge really matters for craps players. I know that it's made up like that and it's promoted that way, but I'll get into that another time. But I've talked about a lot on my channel. So, but with blue collar sports, what happened is as I started progressing, I got up to like 500 subscribers. Well, I get a letter saying it's a cease and desist letter and an email with it. And it's like, hey, YouTube's telling me, Google's telling me, hey, this is this right here, Blue Collar Sports, is actually this radio show, this radio. And so I look it up. It has a YouTube channel and everything. And they're like, you can go to court and fight for this name, or basically you can quit. And I was like, I'll just quit. And so I shut it all down and restarted.
Yeah, and I think there wasn't much time between Blue Collar Sports and Wager Me This. You were back up pretty fast.
Yeah, I moved in the middle of it. We moved from that house. We own that house too, but we moved from it to another town. And so whatever little time frame that was, month or something.
Yeah. Did you have the same table from?
I did.
Okay, I couldn't remember if you.
No, I didn't. I built that table in this house. So when I was there, I had a different table that I had. It was my work table there. When I was remodeling my house up there, it was my work table, and I just put my crap stuff on. Okay. So this, I found a bookcase that fit a crap spelt I had. And so I was like, well, I'll just build it into that.
Okay. So with you started from scratch with Wager Me This, with 0 subscribers, and you just had to hope that everybody was going to come over because you had no way of going back to Blue Collar Sports and saying, hey, I'm over here now. We didn't have a lot of the Facebook forums, and we didn't have a lot of that. So it was just really, people had to discover you all over again.
Well, one of the big things was Dax helped me. Yep. 36 full press. He put me back out there. He did that for me. He actually did that. He said, hey, he's here now. He's here now. He's here now. And he pushed it for me. He really, I mean, probably within the first day of him talking about it, I had about 100 subscribers. So, I mean, he really did. He did it for me. He got me back into where people knew where I was at.
Yeah, you talked about Dax in your video a week or so ago, I think it was, and how he helped a lot of us get started. You know, back it was actually a year ago right now, or 2 years ago right now, something like that. I can't remember exactly when it was. And he pulled me on his show, and overnight, you know, another 30, 40, 50 subscribers, and yeah, he was helped me launch my channel. That's for sure. And even this show right here, it's loosely based on a show that he started called Around the Horn. You and I both...
it was around layout.
Around the layout. Okay. It was around something. I couldn't remember what it was. But yeah, so I don't know if Dax is watching out there. But Dax, you know, thank you very much for helping us get started. And you know, just thank you, but rather appreciate it. All right, guys. So let's talk a little bit about... your toolbox. That's been a big focus of Wager Me This, your channel. And do you have, like, I don't know, is it do you have a number of tools in your toolbox, or just tell me a little bit about that.
The way that started was when I was making videos, I was doing things that I do because of certain reasons, and I called them my own tools. And I'd say, guys, you got to have a tool, you know, a tool for this, tool for that. Well, people said, what are you talking about tools? And I was like, oh, well, okay, I guess I didn't break this down far enough. I need to tell people individually about these little moves I've learned that help along the way, that do certain things in the game that will help you defeat the game. Because essentially in craps, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to defeat what the casino has against you, no matter which way you do it, whether it's defeating the 7, defeating the 10, playing the horns. You're trying to defeat something in order to get the winnings. And so these tools help me along, and I found different spots in the game that there's small holes. And using those small holes, I built strategies around. And so then what ends up happening is the tools, they mitigate the problems in the strategy for you. And so then people are like, what are you talking about tools? Tell us about this. And so I started with my favorite tool, and that's just how it started. I have about 20 of them, but I think I've only put out 12, if I remember right.
Yeah, and they're not numbered, so I couldn't really remember how many you had out there. But I think one of the things that you like to tell people also is that you can't have just one tool in your toolbox, because sometimes you know, you have to adjust. You have to make adjustments. But if you were going to make a recommendation on maybe like a beginner that is starting to do a bankroll building type of strategy, what tool should they be using?
Okay, so if you're going to start from, like, I started from $200. I say that I started from a $200 a whole bunch of times because I lost a bunch of times first, but eventually I got it going. But it was $200. Well, the first thing you need to learn about the game of craps is that the game of craps is built around the number seven. So if you don't have money to fight the seven, then you need to make the seven your friend. All right. You need to make it profitable if you don't have money to fight against it. So the first tool you need to learn is how to use the don't, or how to use the seven bets, whether it's the hops, the don't, the lay bets, and the come bet. All these bets factor into controlling the seven, mitigating the seven. And so once you learn that, everything else is outside of that. So like the horn bets, the place bets, buy bets, field bets, all of these are side pieces to fixing the problem of the seven. Because the game is developed, it's built around that. You win or lose on the seven. That's when the shot stops or starts, all those things. So that was the first tool. And so if I was just going to advise a new craps player, the first thing I would say is go watch some don't videos. Learn how to play the don't before you learn how to play the light side. Because the don't is safer. The don't is so much safer than the light side. The don't is more boring though. So
I think there's a psychology there too. So you can win by losing, and you have to get over that fact. So when you get to seven, a profit is a win, even though you technically just lost. So you have to get that right in your head.
Yeah, absolutely. And once you learn that all the craps board is valuable, it's all valuable. There's no bet on there besides the only one I found that I can't figure out what to use it for is the big 6 and 8. I don't have any idea what to use that bet for. So the only thing I found that it kind of has value to is if you play the blender, and when it lands on the 6 and 8, you can get a 1-to-1 on it. All right, because there's a couple blender numbers that you can't get exact money on if you do it correctly. So, but I don't play the blender, but I know people do. So
yeah, definitely.
But so, every bet on the craps has value.
Just real quick, I'm going to pull a comment up here from Throwing Thunder. Don't forget to visit Jacob's website. Good way to communicate with him. Submit strategies and stories that he will share. So you got a fan out there. Throwing Thunder is a fan of yours and helping to drive some traffic to your website. Now, I had actually forgotten that you have a website, an actual website. What I'm going to type it in the comment. Can you tell me what it is real quick, and I'll put it out there in the comments.
wagermethis.com.
It's simply wagermethis.com.
Yeah, I made sure I got the domain I wanted.
There you go. All right, so I put it out there. So anybody that doesn't know about that particular website, take a minute, go out there, check it out, see what all Jacob has out there.
So let me talk about the website real quick. Okay. All right, on the website, there's a couple things. First thing first, you can get all my sports picks on there. All right, so you can just look at them. You can get my sports, the computer model I use, where I enter information and it spits me out numbers, and I have a tutorial how to use it and everything in my YouTube channel. All right. Hello, everybody. And also, if you'll scroll down and look at the forums, I have a bunch of forums on there that I blog things that I've written myself. It's my philosophy on craps. Personally, every word in it I wrote. And so you can see some of their stuff on there. That the way I believe about craps, it has like my 10 things you need to be able to do to be a good craps player on it. I mean, it has ways to figure out like who you want to be as craps player and stuff. And then of course there's links to different videos and stuff. But and also I have a breakdown of the anything but 10 on there and why you should play it. So there's some more on there. And also, if you want to call me, my phone number is at the bottom.
Awesome. So you actually published your phone number for everybody to call.
Yeah, but let me tell you, if you call, text first, because if it comes up from New Jersey or something, I'm not going to answer.
Yeah. Sorry, all you East Coast people.
Yeah, only Kansas people.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, so let's go back to your toolbox for just a second. You talked a little bit about the beginner's toolbox. Tell us a little bit about an intermediate strategy. So you've got a little bankroll. You're really ready to take a little bit of a risk. Where do you go from there?
Okay, so what most intermediate players to me don't understand is that if you want to win, you can play conservatively. If you want to profit and have good days, you have to get aggressive. If you're not aggressive, and this is for all gambling, if you're not aggressive, you'll never win a lot.
Yeah.
You have to be aggressive to win a lot. You can be conservative and win, but you'll never get where you want to go. So the thing I think most intermediate players don't do is it's just the aggressiveness. You know, they're willing to put the money out there and they're willing to make the right moves, but they're not willing to press, or they're not willing to chase money, or I call it's chasing, but not really, just progressing your money if you have a loss, an unexpected type loss. Right? So if you're not willing to be aggressive, you're not going to make as much money.
Yeah, the guys are making comments out there. See, Dice Tosser for Life. He said, "Call collect."
Yeah, call collect. Yeah, I don't have a problem with
that. And Googs out there from Hawaii. He always takes my call from Hawaii. What was that area code again, Googs?
Googs just sent me some stuff from Hawaii. I was actually going to wear it on here, but I was trying to hurry up and get here at 7:00.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, everybody, appreciate your patience. Jacob couldn't make it here in time for the pre-show, so we had to set up at 7:00 and we got on the air as fast as we could. It was awesome. All right.
I was Christmas shopping for my kids, is what I was doing.
Yeah. So I'm going to go back for just a second, back to blue collar days, and one of the things that actually got me interested in your channel is not necessarily your crap strategies. Of course, that was the thing that drew me in, but your interaction with your son Justice. You're just such a good dad, and you're so patient with him. You get him involved in playing the game, and he was so entertaining to watch. In fact, I've got a little picture here that I call him the real star of Wager Me This, and who couldn't enjoy playing with a kid like this? Some of my favorite videos are when he's out there throwing for you, and so you've got a real random roller, and he goes on a good tangent. He gets a long run.
Yeah, so, he's funny.
So yeah, kudos to you for bringing your sons into this game, and forgive me, I cannot remember the name of your youngest son.
It's easy to remember. It's a whiskey. It's Jameson.
Jameson. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I look forward to seeing him. Do what?
I did name my son after whiskey.
Named your son after whiskey. Hey, there are worse names out there, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I really thoroughly enjoyed watching Justice play craps with you, and I hope that he plays a little bit more, has fun, and he has fun with it too.
I let him play against Dylan one time, Skill and Luck.
Yeah,
I let him play against him. It was hilarious.
Did he beat Dylan?
No.
He got all right. Dylan's record's still intact. In fact, Dylan's out there, I think, watching right now.
Yeah, Dylan really got it.
Couldn't name him Captain Morgan.
Well, I was going to do that, but I'm not a rum fan. I'm a whiskey guy.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, I got a whiskey for the show.
There you go.
Vintage India Pale Ale casks. It's not expensive, but I didn't have it, so I bought it.
Very nice.
So it's a cool bottle. Really cool bottle.
Look at that. Yeah.
It's real dark looking, I think. We'll see. Corked, because that's the only way to have whiskey. Smells good. All right, here we go. Oh, yeah. Monogrammed. This is for Slam.
For Slam Bright.
He's the one that told me.
Toast to Slam.
That's right. So let's try it. It's wonderful.
Somebody just liked the video when you took a drink of it. That's great.
But yeah, so I got that just for this because I was like, I don't have that. I need something special.
Yeah. So do you have a collection? A whiskey collection?
Collection, not anymore. I had a collection. Now I just have bottles.
Okay. All right. So
But I did one.
let's change a subject for just a second. Let's get off of the of craps, and we're going to delve into a world that I know nothing about, but I love listening to you, and you've got a bit of a fan base. So I know last year and this year you've really gotten into the sports betting and offering your picks and your tips. So tell us a little bit. How did you get involved in that, and how did you become so good at it?
Okay, so what happened is I went to prison when I was 19,
Yeah.
and I stayed till I was 31.
Wow.
So I was there, and during that time, you can't have your family send you money all the time. So you got to figure out how to make money.
Yeah.
And I'm not pretty, so I had to figure out a different way. And so I got into sports betting, like booking. There was a bookie in there, and he was from Rhode Island, and he was a Yankee from Rhode Island, and he got kind of he liked me, because I was into football, and he taught me how to do it. He taught me how to make a power rating system and handicap it and stuff. And so then I just kept building on his, and I started my own bookie in prison and made my own money. Made my own money, and one thing led to another. So I get out, and I'm like, well, I can do this.
Yeah.
And so I started betting, and I was doing good. And so basically, my craps bankroll came from my NFL bankroll. Right. So when I started being the craps, I'd already been, but the problem with the NFL, it only lasts 6 months. So I was like, what do I do in the off time? And sure enough, that's how I kind of said, okay, I'll take this money and keep pushing it into this until I'm good at this. And so now, what happened is people were just asking me questions about football, and I would give them the right answers. I'm like, well, this is going to happen in this game, and so it happened. And they're like, man, you should put that on there. So I started. And one thing about sports betting, okay, one thing I want to say about it is what you bet on and what I bet on, they could be the exact same bet, and you can lose and I can win. It just depends on what your casino had a line at. There's a lot of different things that fall into it. So when I give lines out on Tuesday, that's the opening line. That's the first line that they're confident of and they put out and you can bet on. By Sunday that changes. And so it could be better one way or the other. And so wins and losses when you're on YouTube is hard to quantify. And so, like, for example, I try to put out when I make changes on Sunday. I do. I try to put it out there saying I don't like this now or whatever. But so for the most part, I'm giving you a baseline. That's why I gave out my computer model for free. That's why I just gave it to everybody. I said, this is what I use. And this is how I figure out what I want to bet on. Yeah. And then also I have a lot of knowledge behind it. So you learn little tricks and little angles that it takes to be good at it.
Do you stick to strictly NFL?
I do only bet NFL. And the reason is because college is so big. NFL is already hard enough. And so if I delved into college, it would take up all my life. I would
you're Brian Williams out there saying that's a great program that you have put out there.
Yeah, and guys, it's simple. And I'll tell you guys this, on that model, I've went through all the side statistics one time or another, added into there. The problem is most side statistics are represented by a main statistic. So, for example, I'll give you what I'm talking about. Receiving yards after catch doesn't factor in. You already got receiving yards. So it's the same thing, essentially. You know what I mean? So if you put both of them in there, you're kind of double dipping into one thing, and it'll give you a skewed number. So these base statistics actually work better than having a lot more.
Got it. So my friend out there, the Altitude Gambler, says, my downfall in sports betting is always betting on the Denver Broncos.
Yes, that is a downfall. Sometimes it works. Most times it doesn't. Right now.
So, you started, like I said, back in prison, back in those days. But before you were good at it, did you just listen to people that you trusted on that, or did you just bet on your instinct?
When I came out of prison, I was already good at it. So when I got to where I could actually gamble in casinos, I already had my model created and I was already good at it. So I walked through the door gambling. I'll call it the free world. I was already good at it.
Gotcha.
So when I was locked up, I took all my lumps, you know.
Awesome. All right, so I'm gonna see if we can turn it over here to the audience. See if they've got some questions coming up here. Let's pull in a couple of the comments here.
I might know a few.
Slam Bright's telling Altitude Gambler to shut his face. Some things never change. Altitude Gambler, he's done well with him this year at least. So I guess it all depends on how you bet, right?
It does.
Because I guess tell me. So it's not just win or loss. I mean, I am a real novice, so you have to understand that. I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to sports betting. So I'm guessing you bet on more than just who wins the game and by how much.
Oh yeah, there's everything you can think about in an NFL game is bettable. So you can bet the coin toss. You can bet some of the big games like the Super Bowl. You can bet how many times the president will tweet during the game.
Oh wow!
So I mean, everything is bettable. So you find angles, you find deficiencies in teams, or you find where they're the best at something that's unusual. And so you can bet those sides, you can bet those angles. And I actually bet sports betting like I bet craps. Like for example, I'll give an example out today. Okay, so today I bet the Baltimore Ravens, and I don't know how the game's going. It's on right now. I bet the Baltimore Ravens just to win the game. I bet Baker Mayfield to throw an interception, but I also bet for the a couple of the players to have good games because I think they will because of their previous statistics and the way it lines up. But so what I do a lot of times is I figure out little ways to get my money out there different on a game. That way it's not all tied up in one bit.
Okay, so there's multiple different ways. Now, if you don't live near a casino, there's still ways to bet.
There is. I've used all the online ones, and I've had bad luck with them. So one of the real popular ones is called Bet Online, and I ran my total up on there to $3,600, and I started trying to pull my money out, and it was like buying a house. They wanted like my second grade teacher's name and her social security number, and they wanted like the first 3 trees I peed on and stuff just to get my money out of there. And I was just like, okay. So I ended up blowing that money on the poker room. They have a poker room. So I went and played some high stakes poker and got my butt kicked. So,
wow. All right, let's go back over to the questions. And looks like, okay, so we've got one person out there asking a question, and I don't want to get too personal, Jacob. So if you don't want to address this, just let me know. We're going to move on.
I've already said it on the channel, probably.
Okay. So Dice Grinder's asking, why were you in prison?
I went to prison for robbing 2 stores at gunpoint.
There we go. Okay, let's move on to the next question.
One in Arkansas and one in Idaho.
Okay. James Lesko wants to know, do you have a favorite casino in Vegas or Biloxi?
So I've never been to Vegas as an adult, so I don't have a favorite one there. I've also never been to Biloxi. So I play in Tunica, Arkansas, Kansas, Oklahoma. That's where I play normally. I do play in Colorado a little bit, but until they change those limits there, which I guess they are now.
Colorado's I believe it's in May. At least in Blackhawk. Blackhawk's already announced that they are going unlimited max bets. So that's gonna be pretty interesting to see what happens up there. But we're still waiting, I think, to hear from Central City and Cripple Creek, see what they're going to do. So that was another topic that I wanted to. Yeah. It's another thing I wanted to talk about while we were on the show today is the casinos in the South. You know, you mentioned Arkansas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Tunica. So what do you consider your home casino? Where do you mostly go?
My home casino is Oaklawn, but it's because it's the closest. I actually don't care for their craps tables, and they have a $250 limit, which isn't much better than Colorado. But Tunica is about 30 more minutes, and my favorite casino is the Gold Strike in Tunica. That's where I like to play. They have the all tall small. I like their tables. I like their staff. It's nice in there. The rooms are nice. Uh, it's just overall a friendly place, and I win there, so that's why I like it more than anything, I guess.
Yeah, one of my favorite experiences was actually in Tunica, and it was many years ago. It was before I even got started playing craps, but we were there on the anniversary of Elvis's death, and we were at one of the casinos, and all of the employees were dressed like Elvis that night, and they
Yeah,
were playing Elvis music all night long. And the employees were just having a blast, and the atmosphere was just fun. A lot of times you go into a casino nowadays, and it's a job, and the employees get worn down just like any other job. But that night, it was a lot of fun. I like Tunica. I wish it wasn't so far away from me. I wish it was a little bit closer to drive it. But yeah, that's one of my
I love
favorites as well.
And see, my wife likes Memphis a lot. And,
Yeah,
it's about 30, 40 minutes away from each other. And so what happens a lot of times, we'll go to a play in Memphis because Memphis has a big theater scene. They have the Orpheum and stuff, and it's just really good there. And Memphis is a fun town. Memphis gets a bad rap for like being dangerous.
yeah.
Trust me, it's not what you think. It's not like that. I mean, if you go down in the wrong neighborhoods, it's dangerous. Don't go in those neighborhoods.
Been there. I've been there.
So, but
So
so it's
Googs
fun.
50 and Altitude Gambler, they're giving you an update real quick. It's 7-7 first quarter, just in case you needed to know.
Has Baker thrown a pick?
Let's see here. Let's keep going. We got Yo Girl out there. Arnell, no wonder you don't have any friends. Okay, I'm not sure. I must have missed something from Arnell on that one. James Real, who's going to the Super Bowl?
Kansas City and New Orleans. They're the best
Okay,
two
who's going to
teams.
win?
Kansas City.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
I have bets on both of them. I bet them both in August.
Altitude Gambler, William Hill is my online betting platform.
I mean, yeah, it's a good one. It's legit. But you're in Colorado, so you can do it from there. Like I can't do it from Arkansas. So I would have to like IP through Colorado or something, or I have to use an offshore one that's actually illegal.
Yeah. Josh,
I just go down to my sports book and bet there. They like me.
Yeah. Joshua Plavko, pounding the don'ts is still the best strategy, right?
It's hard to beat it. Josh Plavko is the man.
Lawrence Todd, pounding the don'ts is a great strategy, except for when playing on Big AZ's table.
Yeah. Hey, if you guys remember the Mass Craps player,
Yeah.
I won the Mass Craps player.
That was a fun little series he did.
It was. I was the Red Ranger. And I play in that video what I play now.
Yeah. Okay, East Coast Craps. Which casino in Tunica has the best table conditions?
I personally like Gold Strike. So Chili got a different experience than me, Chili from O-Town.
Yeah.
He said they were bouncy, but most of the tables I've played on there are not bouncy. They roll well. They have the all tall small, which I like. And their limits are reasonable limits. You can play $15 tables, and they'll have $5,000 or $10,000 maxes for you guys that have big bankrolls. And they have a lot of tables, believe it or not. It's like quite a few. It's like 8 or 9 craps tables in there. So, and they're kind of centrally located in a nice part of the casino. The slot machines are a good 20 feet away from all of them, And so, but like a lot of people like the Horseshoe. I don't like the staff at the Horseshoe. And the Horseshoe's always $25 or higher.
Wow.
So now you have some of the smaller casinos there, like the Fitzgerald, but they only have one table. So the Fitzgerald also has plexiglass. Gold Strike doesn't.
Okay. All right, moving on. East Coast Craps. Oops, I'm sorry. We just answered that question. So Lou Louie, will the Bucks go far in the playoffs?
The Bucks got to make the playoffs. But will they go far? No. They can't beat the Saints, probably. Even though it's unlikely a team loses 3 times in one season to another team, I think it's only happened one time, but they don't have the right tools to beat the Saints if Drew Brees is playing.
Okay.
Now they also, I think there's a team in the NFC that could get them, and that's the Rams. The Rams are built very well. So, the Rams got good defense, good offense. Any day the Rams can beat anybody.
All right, back
and
to
you got Green
craps.
Bay.
Yep. Back to craps. What's your favorite strategy that you like using? So you've got a lot of tools in your toolbox, but what's your go-to?
Oh, okay. So all my strategies that I actually use at the casino are 6, 7, 8 based. So even the anything but 10 is still 6, 7, 8. You just use, instead of the don't, you're using the 10. So you're turning the 10 into a 7, and then I'm spreading across the board. It's still 6, 7, 8. You know what I mean? So that's what I do. I get a cover bet, and then I spread across the board, trying to hit a bunch of those bets. And I play off a thing I call zero exposure ratio. And I'm actually writing a book right now, and it's in there in depth. A zero exposure ratio is this: how many rolls does it take to get your exposure to zero? How many hits, not rolls, how many hit rolls does it take to get your exposure to zero? So whatever you have at risk. So for example, a $300 anything but 10, all right? If your exposure is $300, it's not what's on the board, because you can't win or lose both. So you have $300 in exposure. If you have $25 bets, or the equivalent of $25 bets across, you're going to make $35. So that's like 8 to 9 rolls. All right. So your zero exposure ratio should be something like 4 to 6 rolls or whatever. Well, it is, because you're out of 12. If you guys understand what I'm saying, instead of being out of 6, because the 7 rolls 6, has 6 combinations.
Right.
The 10 has 1 out of 12. You know what I mean? There's only 3 ways to roll it, so it's 1 out of 12. Should be a 10, as opposed to 1 out of 6. So 8 is essentially 4 out of 6. I hope I explained that well.
I kind of follow you. You're basically shifting the risk to a number that's easier to manage.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also I do something different. So I know AZ is playing very similar to this right now, but AZ lets the 7 still be a loser. So I'm gonna give out some pro tips here. If you're going to play this way, the 7 has to be a winner, or you're also playing against the 7. So if the 7's not a winner, you're playing against the 10 and the 7. Now you have 9 ways to lose, as opposed to having 3. And so if you're going to play this way, you've got to keep the 7 as a winner. If the 7's not a winner, it won't work very well.
Okay. All right, let's come back to some of the questions. I'm going to skip a few out here and go down to Googs. What odds did you get on the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl?
7 to 1. I got 12 to 1 on the Saints.
Skill and luck. The 6, 7, 8 is good for people to learn. It's not a true hedge, but it's a good balance. Okay.
Thank you, Skill. Another thing is I have Buffalo at 8 to 5 to win their division. I had Green Bay to win more than 8.5 games, and I have Arizona to win more than 7 games. So I've won some of those already.
Nice, very nice. Then last comment here from Dice Jedi. Yeah, I found out a big AZ's table last night. Don't play the donuts on it. Yeah, so Dice Jedi, you must have been in one of his competitions. I haven't seen that one yet.
Anyone that don't know about Big AZ, you got to go watch it. Stuff, it's great.
Yeah, it really is. I did one of his contests not too long ago, and it came down to the very last roll. There was 3 of us in competition. Very last roll, and I won't say who won or who lost. Spoiler alert: I lost, but I guess I'll tell you that. But we were in. Okay, so here we are. We're on the 19th roll, I think it is, and you take all of your bets down, and then you bet whatever it is on the 20th roll. Well, I was in second place up until that last roll, and I kind of went a Jeopardy type of a style, and I only bet $25 out there, thinking, okay, he hasn't rolled a 7 in a while. This is Big AZ. That 7's coming. And I just don't have a lot of exposure when the other people out there were putting, I mean, massive amounts of money on these crazy ass bets. And sure enough, he didn't roll a 7. But so he got me. He got me on that one. All right, we got Evelyn out there. Go Bills. Nice call, Evelyn.
Yeah, they paid me. I mean, they haven't. I don't think they've officially won their division, but they've won it.
Yeah. All right, so let's go back. I think one of the last questions that I wanted to talk to you about is the meetups with people. You have a friend, Mike, that you go to the casino with quite a bit, and I believe you met some of your viewers. You actually will meet them in the casino from time to time.
Yeah, it's happened 2 ways. They've called and just asked to play with me, and I try to get. I'm not as available as other people sometimes because I have kids.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I have kid stuff. But I have met with Mike Arndt. He's great. Larry Holloway is great. A guy named Dean is great. Ken, you guys will know these guys from the chats. They're all over in the chats.
Yeah.
And they're all great guys. I haven't met my first contest winner yet. I'm waiting on to pay him and get with him. It's Leo Gonzalez. So for my first contest, I can't have another contest I'll get him paid. My second contest winner was Larry, and I got him paid. But I just don't want to do it until I have him in line.
Sure. Sure.
And
yeah,
but other than that,
yeah, you
and
I got to play. You and I got to play together for a few minutes one day, and
yeah,
you're not that far away from me, so we got to figure this out how we can get back together and play again.
Yeah, and I need to get with Skill because I've said I would, and I need to get with Craps Cat because I've said I would.
Well, Craps Cat, she's also what Southwest Missouri, so she's not too far away. Yeah. Skill and Luck over near Missouri area. We have a lot of players in our area that we just need to find a time and just make it happen. Find a location that's central enough to all of us and just make it happen. So one of these days we'll work on that, but probably not until the spring at least.
I don't mean to cut this short, but my phone is going to die.
All right, guys. Then one last question, Lawrence Todd. I need your hockey line starting in January. So you said NFL hockey, only, but time to expand into that. All right, Jacob. I'm going to let you go since your battery's about to die, and just want to say thank you very much for joining the show. All right.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, guys. So before we close it out, I'm going to show you we've got what's coming up soon. So next week we've got Tony Leo and Mark Kilgore going to join the show. After that, we're going to take a week off for the holidays. And when we come back after the first of the year, Michael Feldman, he's a casino host that's going to be joining us and talking about what kind of things can a casino host do for you guys. And I could tell you from my personal experience, you do not have to be a high roller to benefit from a casino host. And Michael's going to tell us all about that. January 11th, we're going to be joined by a couple of my Hawaiian friends, Mel Lum Ho, Byron Balisakan, and we're also going to bring back Paul Pavia to talk about craps culture in Hawaii. Now, coming up soon, we don't have a date for it, but I have confirmed that Mark Duvall from the podcast You Can Bet on That is going to be joining us for a special show about Hollywood Loves to Gamble. Now, I'm working on how I can show maybe a little bit of video during that, worried a little bit about copyright issues. So I'm working on what I can show and what I can't show. And then last week, we had Howard Newman on here, and it was the highest rated show that I've had so far. He's already agreed to come back for part 2. So looking forward to that. And I also need to ask you guys, the viewers, do you have any ideas or do you want to be a part of the show? Either leave me a comment below, send me an email, and we'll see about getting you guys on there. Before I do leave you, I want to give you a bit of a teaser for what's coming up next week. right. So there you have it. That's a teaser. So if you didn't recognize him, that was Tony Leo from Advantage Dice Control. He has a new program that he's going to actually talk about here on the show next week called Wage. And we'll leave it as a teaser for now. All right, guys, that's it. That's all I've got for you. Thanks for tuning in. And until we see you again next time, keep talking craps.